Thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Spence here on the TSPN TV News Desk, and I'm with a special guest today, the Executive Director of Amador Council of Tourism, Maureen Funk. Welcome to TSPN again. You come on all the time,
but well, not as often as I'd like.
I don't think we've ever been able to chat.
No, so you and I have not. So this is a treat for me.
Yes,
Thank
this
you.
is great. We talk all the time everywhere else. And,
truly.
You know, I've been kind of in your draft of your wake. You know, your momentum that you've been able to build throughout the county has just been remarkable.
Well, thank you.
I see you everywhere at all of the events, and this Amador Council of Tourism is having such an impact on our county that it's just remarkable. I'd have to say. I mean, it really is impressive. And it's great to see you all over and doing a lot of different things. But you don't only do those things here in Amador County, but you're traveling all over the state and doing conventions. So it's great to have you to be able to let people know, our listeners know, what you're up to.
That is one of the ironies of the job. Is I'm often marketing out of county, the county, and so I think you're right that it's hard for me to communicate to people what all we do. I think sometimes I hear, well, you run a visitor center. Well, that's a really small portion of what we do. I love the visitor center. I love talking to visitors, but I also love to go out and talk about this place that we live. It's so beautiful.
Let's start by, you know, I don't know too much about your background, but I know that you were in Amador County. You've been here for quite a while.
Well, a small amount of time, really. I've only been here 20 years.
20 years, that's quite a while.
Not by most measurements, but I am proud to be here. I moved up here when my children were small and was involved in starting the Amador Farmers Market. I was the manager there for 6 years and a grower. And after I stepped down as market manager, I continued to sell produce through that market, and then needed something a little bit different to do as my children grew up, and I had to take them many places and travel with them. So I worked for Main Street Theater Works, was instrumental in setting up the dinner theater, which was at that time in, well, let's see, for about a microsecond it was called Daffodils. It's now back to being called Pilates.
I remember when it was Daffodils. Yeah, I go back that far. I mean, before then, there was something else even before then.
And it was Pilates before then.
And then it went to
Twisted
Daffodils
Fork.
and back to Pilates.
So yeah, now
Twisted Fork, that's right.
There's been a few reincarnations, but it was the banquet room where we had dinner theater there. And then I also helped them put together funding and a contract with Kennedy Mine to build that amphitheater, which is now 10 years old. Huh. And so that was I really loved doing that. That was a real gift to my life, and I love that amphitheater to this day. And then I worked at the radio station for a little bit while it was on the side band. And
you still do a lot of radio.
I do a little bit of radio, and then I've been at the Amador Council of Tourism for the last 7 years, and I think I found my job. I feel like all my experience has added up to this job. I couldn't have done this job before this, you know, all the things that I've done in the community.
Well, you have a lot of responsibilities, and we're going to kind of go over some of those and do your little job description for folks.
Okay.
But I should say before we get started that I've been doing a piece on the Amador Farmers Market this season.
It's a wonderful market.
I was out there in Sutter Creek when they opened that day that they opened. It was a very hot day, about 100 degrees. And I had butter out there, and we did a nice piece out there. And I just did the Plymouth opening the other night.
Oh, that's a lovely
in the
market.
evenings where they have the meal being
Yes.
catered. And
I know.
What an
Great
incredible
personality.
thing to be able to show the market and to be able to talk to some of those folks out there who are involved in you know, bringing all that great produce and food to the county directly without putting it on a truck and driving it 5,000 miles. You know, they're a big part of our county, and I've really become kind of attached to all those folks out there. I've done a few of them, and it's really an incredible group. I can see where you would have that.
Yeah, it was great fun. I still go to farmers markets when I travel.
Yeah, we have a great one here in Amador County, all over, and we're doing a lot of that. But your job description, you know, we have a lot of new things that you're doing, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But your job description as the executive director for ACT, how does that work for you?
So the industry lingo is that we're called a destination marketing organization. So our goal is to bring more visitors here so that we can grow that economy here in our county. And I do that by, just as you mentioned earlier, going to travel shows that I think get to our audiences, that will get people interested in us. I partner with Gold Country Visitors Association because if you get outside of even Northern California, people don't really know where we are located.
Right.
And so we partner together and describe ourselves as the gold country region of California. And by pooling those dollars, we can do lots more. We are planning some journalists coming in later in September that will be writing about us as a region, and we're going to host them here in Amador County. So it's those kinds of things with media. If we also have visitor fulfillment, it's called, where we have requests for information and we put all that stuff together and we mail it to them. We work with them on the phone to find out what time of year they're coming and try to key them into some of our events and where they should spend their time seasonally. And then with groups that are here in the county, we love working with groups. They want to know what to see and do. We try to get them connected to our group destinations to do private tours, to enjoy, maybe get a group meal going and catering or something like that. Same thing with lodging. So we try to do everything we can to get more dollars in all of our pockets.
You're the networking master. I mean, you really are networking throughout the county, throughout the state.
We love it.
And it's a remarkable
Well,
achievement, as
thank
I
you.
mentioned before. But your operating budget, how do you make all that happen? I know you have a lot of great volunteers.
Good question.
But how do you make it all happen budget-wise?
Well, it's funny. I was just taking a look at that today. I'm broken up about 50% public monies and 50% private funding, and at least until the Measure Q money comes in, and then it's going to be a little bit different skew, I believe. But I'm going to try to keep that balance, try to get the private monies to match up. The Measure Q, well, we'll come back to that. So 50% public monies, that is TOT monies, the room tax that people pay when they stay overnight in a hotel. I put in proposals with various towns and have arrangements with various towns to take that money and invest it in advertising out of the area, specifically regional publications as well as things like Sunset and so forth, and radio. Capital Public Radio is a great audience for us, so we advertise on Capital Public Radio, for example. The private funding is done a number of ways. There's about 4 different ways that it comes in. We do a couple of fundraisers a year. One of them is my game, 49er Treasure Trail. One of them is the membership dues. One is we have some lodging partners that are willing to do $1 a room a night at the bottom line, and then they feed that $1 a room a night back to this organization, and we use that to promote for promotion. And I lost the last one. It's gone. But anyway, that's a sort of a rundown of where our funding is.
Well, you had a great success with the Measure Q, and we should let viewers know that was the measure that had to do with achieving some parity between all the tax rates in the hotels. One town was charging a higher rate or a lower rate, and
Right.
each town throughout the county had a different rate.
Right.
And so it kind of brought parity to establish a set rate for all the hotels. And that measure was an additional tax on some of the hotels that were getting away with charging the lower rate, so they had to kind of raise that room tax. And it's not very often that a measure regarding increasing any tax
Truly.
Ever passes.
Truly.
So that was a big success
It
in being
felt
able to
really
generate
good.
funding for that.
I did not have. I was so surprised by the outcome and pleased and thankful.
Voters are very reasonable, and
We
were able to figure
were
that
able
out.
to give them the information that it was a hotel-motel room tax. It's charged to visitors. When you dial and you're planning a vacation, you don't ask.
Yeah.
You ask the room rate, and you don't say, "Oh, and by the way, what are the additional charges?"
Right.
Because you're going to pay it,
Yeah.
and you're happy to pay it because you're on vacation.
Yeah, that percent or two difference, it needed to be kind of leveled out. So
Yes.
there's a level playing field
Indeed.
for all. And,
Yeah.
so it's fair for everybody. But the tax that is generated, that additional tax, gets to go into possibly volunteers or additional funding that you can use to, increase your services.
Well, we have a plan, and I'm getting ready to bring it back to the supervisors. It's for how we will use all our marketing dollars in the next, now the second half of this year and going into the following year. And so I'm pretty excited about it because it'll take us up a notch. And yes, we have gotten some success with this organization over the we just celebrated our 10th anniversary as Amador Council of Tourism, and so it takes this long to get things kind of all rolling in the right direction and everybody getting behind the boulder to push it uphill, and I think we're there now, and it's pretty exciting. But we even get to go further with these additional monies, and I think people will say, yeah, I want to get on board with that too, and there are opportunities for people to partner with their businesses.
Yeah, they really
with our
should.
campaign.
You know, community partnerships are important for all of this, and I'd like to see more recreational promotion in terms of all of our recreation
Oh,
up
yeah.
country.
Yeah.
You know, all the lakes, and boating, and fishing. You know, we never hear anybody really talking about. You know, they are in the guides, and I'm going to show these new guides because I'm excited
Just
about
happen
it.
to have a
We're going to do that in the
page.
second half of the show. We're going to save something for you to talk about. But I came to Amador County over 10 years ago, and I remember when you first started out because I was involved in tourism in San Francisco. I was the general manager of a small cable network that
Right.
promoted television throughout the hotels and, you know, Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau and all that kind of thing. And so when I saw you doing this, yeah, it's great, you know. And then to see, you know, the success that you've had, it doesn't seem like 10 years has gone by, but
Oh, it feels like
you know.
10 years.
Yeah, well, it might to you. It just seems like a flash to me.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's great to see that. But we're going to go to break in about
Okay,
a minute. And
very
then we're going
good.
to come back. We're going to talk. I know you have a new website,
Yes.
new brochures and flyers, and we're going to cover all of that and be back with Maureen Funk, the Executive Director of the Amador Council of Tourism here in Amador County, a very important resource for all of us to keep an eye on. And we're going to talk more about Maureen's vision for the future, maybe,
Uh-oh.
too. Do
Okay,
you have a
well,
vision for the future?
I always have a vision.
I should always ask first. But we will be going to break, and then we'll come back and talk more about, you know, what your ideas are for the future. And I'm sure you've got some great ideas. So please stay tuned, and we'll be right back with Maureen Funk.
Thank you, Mike.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.